Welcome back, everybody, to the PetaPixel podcast. It's Jordan Drake here, but I'm joined by my usual friends. I got Chris Nichols.
Hi, I'm going to try to be unusually happy.
Okay, and we got Jaron Schneider, always just a ball of pep and happiness.
Sure.
And wait, if you're watching this on YouTube, we got 4 screens going on right now. That is Kai, the living legend. Inspiration for us actually like loosening our ties on our show and having fun. And he's here to talk to us about a lot because we took a break. Then we talked about nothing but Canon for an entire podcast. Stuff's been going on. So we got to talk about some new lens announcements, but we're still going to dip our toes into Canon land. You know, the Canon says the R3 series is still a thing. Is it still a thing? Does that make any sense? We're going to talk about that on this podcast. But before we do, everybody, I want to know, little question so our audience can get to know you all better. I'm wondering, guys, of all of the products that have been sent over to you to take a look, and we know afterwards you got to send them back, what is the one that you're like, damn, I really wish they'd let me hold on to that one? What is the one that you still just like wake up like, man, I miss that thing. It brought me joy.
Don't we all get to keep the stuff?
What you got?
Let's let our special guest
I thought
Kai go
everybody
first.
keeps their stuff, isn't it? I thought that's how it works.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe
right?
ethics are different in the UK and Hong Kong before that. I have no idea.
That's why your shelves are full of cameras. How many X100s do you have?
How many what?
X100s do you have?
I've got one. I've got
I
this
see
is
two.
the original, which my sister gave me because she said it was rubbish. So I thought, yeah, I'll take it. And it's broken. That's why it's
Sucks.
rubbish. And I've got the latest one, which is I just thought everybody else is buying it. I want a piece of it. But all the other ones, I've never bought an X100 before, so I haven't got too many X100s. But yeah, the question about which camera I'd like to keep, I don't know. I get kind of a bit bored of cameras these days, so I don't really think, oh yeah, I want this. It's just like somebody who's watched way too much porn. Not that I would know. You get desensitized to all of that camera goodness, and you just think it's boring. It's just another camera. I don't really want to keep it. If you want to give it to me, fine. But I'm not excited by anything. But porn's still good.
Damn, what a revelation. You love porn and you hate cameras. That's okay. That's interesting. All right.
What do you got, Chris?
Oh, what have I had to send back that I really miss? Camera wise, yeah, there's not much. Look, I love porn as much as the next guy, but I'm not desensitized to cameras.
Lenses,
like
other things are also up for grabs.
Yeah. For me, cameras is just, like they're a tool, right? But lenses are some unique stuff. I mean, that Sony 300mm comes to mind. That was really fun. And I really did miss that because that was a cool lens. Any of the X100s that we've played with, because then I could just sell it on eBay and buy whatever I actually want, like a couple fly rods. That's probably, I miss that.
Wow.
Jaron, what you got?
You already know. It's the X106.
That one Kai's got right there?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's especially sad because the one that I had was pre-production, and you know that it's going to go into a wood chipper, so nobody gets it.
Yeah.
And it's just it's particularly upsetting that I don't have that camera, and that camera is probably dead now. So,
well, Kai's got one, and he doesn't care about cameras anymore, so he'll send it to you.
Yeah, just give me yours, Kai. Apparently.
I mean, maybe these.
Yeah,
these
do
are
us
the
a favor
two
by
cameras.
appearing on our show and also give us free stuff.
Yeah, give us.
I mean, maybe I would say these are the two cameras that I wish I could keep, and that's why I bought them. It's the X106 and the Leica Q3.
Yeah.
I bought the Leica Q3 because I was on the waiting list for the X106. And then when I bought the Leica Q3, the next day, the X106 arrived. So I kind of regret getting the Q3. But
Actually, I'm going to amend my answer because you just inspired me. Actually, the M11 monochrome, that I miss. I really miss the M11 monochrome. That would be my choice. I wish I had that. I would actually shoot that.
I'm a little torn because the Nikon AW1 I keep going back to as like, no one's made a camera like that. That thing was fun. I would love to have that with the 28. But then I thought about it more and it's like, you know what? All I want are those Vazen anamorphic lenses back. We shot multiple reviews on the 28 and the 40 Vazen anamorphics. Those things ruled. That company doesn't even exist anymore. So I don't know. Maybe I got to start looking at the used market. I mean, they weren't technically good, but I loved the aesthetic of them. I made like
Man.
home videos in anamorphic. It was great. So that's
if that
what I
company
want.
was going to get dissolved, we should have just kept those lenses, Jordan.
I know. I had no idea. I could have been a sneaky boy.
Oh, man.
But sadly, I was an ethical boy, not a sneaky boy.
From now on, we keep everything until like collections agencies come after us. That's the new policy. All right. We'll
Now,
beg for
Jordan,
forgiveness.
when you use anamorphic lenses, do you have like loads of? Do you abuse that anamorphic flare? Do you have like loads of anamorphic flares in the background? Do you like doing that, or
Oh God, yes. All I'm doing is looking around for. I'm like, Chris, could you just shoot the pop-up flash for absolutely no reason in every shot, so I get some anamorphic streakies on it? No, I'm a completely. There is no restraint with the anamorphic flare when I got them. I am a walking cliche.
It's actually a pain in the butt for me because it takes, a lot longer to focus properly and get everything adjusted. And I have to sit there and wait, and it slows down our production. So
This is about me.
I
Chris.
sent them back. I was the one who sent them back.
I guess we should start the show.
Yeah, we're gonna do a couple of news stories here that are probably not news to a lot of you because it's been a couple weeks since we've been able to really cover news, but we do want to touch on a few things, such as a Leica SL3 bug that was particularly nasty in deleting pictures, but Leica has already fixed it. Laowa released the very first zoom shift lens,
I got
and
thoughts.
we have a solution for all of y'all if you don't want to use Adobe anymore for whatever reason. There is now has never been. Jesus, I can't even get it out now. There has never been a better time than now. There it is, to try a different app that actually is quite effective, and I've actually been using it myself. So we're going to talk about that. But before then, let's get started with our intro.
And we're back. And as usual, we want to have a big thanks to our sponsor for the PetaPixel podcast, OM System. If you're itching to upgrade your camera or have been eyeing the OM System OM1 Mark II, which I love, now might be the best time. For 3 days only, that's it. They've got very strict windows here, July 23rd to 25th, 2024. Head over to your local OM System authorized dealer and score $300 off the OM1 Mark II. So it's now just $20.99.99 USD, down from $23.99 USD. If you prefer a kit, the OM1 Mark II with the M.Zuiko 12-40 f2.8 Pro 2. That's actually a really nice lens. Can also be yours for $26.99.99 as a package. I know, isn't that insane?
A 2.8 standard zoom? How reasonable.
And a fantastic camera. Don't miss out on these incredible savings. Get your hands on a brand new, powerful, portable, and weather-sealed OM1 Mark II for your upcoming adventures. And then you can be just like me, because I use one all the time for my work. Don't wait. This offer is only available, as I said, until July 25th. Why are you still waiting? Well, no, wait till after the podcast, but then go to explore.omsystem.com/petapixel or your favorite OM System authorized dealer in your hometown or the town next to you, or like a short bus ride away, or, if you're traveling or whatever.
This is a real punishment for the people who are like, these guys only drop a podcast once a week. I'm not going to listen to it the day it comes out. You've wasted a day where this promotion is available to you. So you got to jump on these the second they come available to listen to the intro to get the hot deals. Damn it.
All right. Well, thanks to OM System for sponsoring the episode. And we're going to quickly get into the news stories. Let's cover this SL3 bug that was capable of deleting your photos. There are actually two ways that this bug came about. If you were, I don't know why anyone would do the first one, but if it was actively writing images to a card and you yanked the battery, it would stop doing that. And then when you
that's like every camera on the planet that's ever been made. Yeah.
But then if you took pictures after putting the battery back in, it would overwrite any of the other pictures that were already on the card. So it wouldn't just stop it and they wouldn't just get corrupted. It would also prevent you from keeping pictures that were not corrupted. And then the other way that it happened was if you pulled the battery while it was sitting in standby mode. And this one I feel like may be directly related to that power button that they chose to implement. So there's not like a hard click off anymore. You have to, it was weird. It's like a computer.
It's an LED computer button.
Yeah, super strange.
Very strange.
So that got reported on the, let's see here, the 15th of July. So a little over a week ago from now. I think there were instances of this in the previous week too. So, but within the next week, Leica fixed the bug, and you should update your firmware now if you have one to version 1.1.9. And it, quote, fixes the sporadic error that resulted in unnoticed overwriting of existing recordings if the camera was not properly turned off beforehand. So
Basically the worst possible thing that could happen. Like when they're like a bug, like how bad could a bug be? Oh, it overwrites your existing images. That's as bad as it could possibly be, I think, besides it like bursting into flame.
So will it fix the problem if I kind of chuck the battery into the water and put the battery back into the camera? Will the images still be lost? Are they going to fix that with firmware? What if I set the camera on fire?
Kai.
What if I don't have a memory card in? I've lost the picture.
If you take shots without a memory card? Yeah,
I'd have to figure out what all those IP ratings are. I can never keep them straight as to whether or not that includes battery and water or fire.
Yeah, who would set a camera on fire? Like, what a childish, stupid thing to do to a perfectly good piece of equipment.
I think
somebody else could have used.
Jordan, there's some fire in his background. He's doing something with fire. So I'm not sure what you're.
If anyone burned a camera, Chris, their career would be over.
Nothing. I'm just like randomly, why would somebody like paint a camera and set it on fire? Like that doesn't happen, Kai. So like
I did them separately.
Your hypothetical.
So I didn't paint the camera and then set it on fire. I painted. There's 2 separate videos. So technically I didn't do that, Chris. Yeah.
Yeah, but
they're combining in his memory at this point.
What I'm getting
he's
from
taking
this
his
is
battery
that you
out.
think that these were cases that probably they probably shouldn't have had an issue.
I did throw a camera into a pool and it had the battery in it, and but it was a broken camera. But I got a lot of crap for that. Did you get a lot of crap for setting that camera on fire? No, everybody loves you.
All the brands hated us in Hong Kong. we were just blacklisted. We invented a blacklist. The blacklist in the camera world has a picture of me and Locke on it.
Camera jail originates with you.
So for what it's worth, trying to pull us back in here.
Are we supposed to talk about the SL3?
The publisher of PetaPixel, Michael, was mentioning, like, I was talking to him about this. Like, is this really a big deal? He's like, he can think of multiple times where he didn't take a camera and fully turn it off before switching the battery out. So I can kind of see that being like a legitimate complaint. Like this, people probably were, especially with this big button instead of an actual toggle, not actually turning the camera off before switching the battery.
Well, and that was something they brought up all the time, was like the battery life wasn't great, but they're like, but we have an excellent standby mode with an instant startup on it. So yeah, if your camera looks like it's off, I could absolutely see swapping the battery that way.
Yeah, pull the battery.
That sucks. Has anyone ever lost valuable information, like had a card corrupt or written over something? Yeah. What's the worst one you had?
Well, since I'm going, I'll go. I feel like I've mentioned this before, but it was like a Canon 1DX 2 or 3. It was one of the only cameras at the time that could get like really good 4K slow motion in camera, and we forgot a CFast. There we go, CFast card reader, and the client wanted to see the footage, so we attempted to plug directly into the camera from the computer, like just with a USB, and doing that really jacked up the card, completely made most of the footage that we shot from a helicopter that we couldn't reshoot because it was like a big commercial gig where someone was driving a boat through underneath the Golden Gate Bridge and docking in San Francisco, and that was not going to happen again, and we just lost the footage. So that was horrible and terrible, and never ever. I still to this day don't like plugging a camera into a computer. I want to put a card reader because of this experience.
Okay.
When you said that, I did think of something, but it wasn't to do with corrupt cards or anything like that. It was just Locke getting a bit corrupt. He decided to take his video footage back, and then he formatted a card with all the that was back in the digital rev days. He formatted a card with all the freshly shot footage on it, and then he had to find a way of trying to recover all the footage. So no, that's not quite the same thing, but that is.
How often do you bring that up to him?
Not that often. He's
Just like, and by the way, Locke, go download this footage and don't throw it all away on a format.
Yeah.
We're both as
Lost
bad as
file.
each
Do
other.
homemade sex
So.
tapes count, or
Hey?
is that no? Uh, Lost files. I mean, we it happens, right? Like we lose file. I mean, just recently I lost a bunch of photos that on our trip in Vancouver Island on one of our cameras. Luckily we sold the camera, we reshot stuff, it was fine. But
yeah, if you
it
watch the
happens.
X100 video, you're like, look at this
Yeah.
beautiful footage of Chris taking pictures in these stunning landscapes.
Where are all his photos
We're
of
not
those
really cutting
landscapes?
to a lot of photos there. Yeah.
It happens, but I don't remember much of it because what I do with trauma is I compartmentalize it and then I push it down deep and then I forget about it and I don't think about it anymore and therefore it doesn't exist and it can't hurt me. So that's what I do. So I haven't lost any photos that I remember.
I had a chunk of our interviews in Idaho corrupt, and that was a nightmare. Because everything that could go wrong went wrong while I was shooting that video. But fortunately, I was able to recover those. I just lost like the very back end. It didn't close the cards. But it was great because Panasonic were like, we don't recommend using these with these specific Sony cards. Of course, I got that email once I got back from Idaho and shot everything on those Sony cards. So it was bound to happen.
Running recovery software at like 2 a.m, desperate to meet an embargo date. That's not fun. I don't want to do that anymore. That's not good.
Okay, moving on. Canon says that it is developing new lenses that you can't even imagine yet. Here's the exact quote, and they're referencing several of the things. The conversation came up because of the 24-120 f2.8, which they are considering making, but they decided that they wanted to do with a 24-105 instead. Since it was when they went to 120, it got really big and heavy, but that idea stuck in their minds. And in an interview in Japan, they said there are still many lenses that have not been released to the world. I can't talk about the specifics, but there are lenses with basic specifications and lenses with specifications that have never been seen before and that no one can imagine yet. We would like to develop
or carry
these in
or
a
buy or
balanced
afford.
way. Yeah, so there you go. Canon says that they are wanting to make lenses that are truly spectacular that you can't even think of, which I feel like is what Sigma's been doing for like the past 3 years.
No. Canon's talking like 28 to 300 f1.7 all the way through. It's coming, boys. It's coming. Yeah.
If I was having a bad press week like Canon kind of did, and they're just like, PR dude, come up with something. He's just like, yeah, the body is, but we got stuff in the back pocket with lenses that you can't even, you guys
and we can't talk about it because no human being can even imagine or comprehend
top secret.
It would take alien technology to make these things. They're going to be so amazing.
And not to be like too much of a dick, but they have absolutely done that. Like the 24-105, 2.8, the 1-300. I mean, they are putting out stuff no one else is doing every once in a while. It's just the like extreme high end, of price, and they're all big bulky things. Like those are pretty not mainstream products. I want to see like a mainstream thing that's unlike anything you've ever seen before.
But what they're going to do? They're going to make a 35mm that I actually like.
No. That's a pretty bold statement to say. No one can imagine it yet. Like, what if I've actually imagined it? What if I thought about it?
Yeah.
Are you gonna?
Yeah. What if?
Are you not? Are you
we
still
got
gonna
creative people here.
I'm gonna take them to court. I've imagined that. Take it off the shelf.
Just write on a cocktail napkin and just pass it over to them when they announce it. Like, I already thought of that. Take it off.
Take a picture of an old newspaper next to it. And be like, I thought of this in 1989.
So I kind of glossed over it there at the beginning, but the part where they were considering, instead of doing 24-105, they were going to do 24-120 f2.8,
Mm-hmm.
but they said that would have necessitated a quote much larger and heavier lens design. Do you think that would have mattered? Would you have been Would you have taken the 24-120 instead of the 105? Do you think that extra 15 millimeters would have made a bigger difference, or do you think they made the right choice?
No, I mean, the only reason to do it is because they're always staring at what Nikon's doing. Nikon does a 24-120 as opposed to their 24-105. That's the only reason. Because, I mean, who cares? Like, it's already a huge chonky lens. 15 millimeters is not going to make that much of a difference at the end of the day. And it's a pretty video-centric lens as well. Yeah. Like, you could always just, honestly, once you apply a little bit of digital stabilization, boom, the lens is past a 120 anyways. We did it, everyone.
Did you play with that one, Kai?
No, I don't know. I don't know what it is with Canon. They don't always give me products. I think maybe I've called a product strange or something, or weird.
Or set them on fire.
Didn't you drop a
set them up
7D down a flight of stairs and then also freeze it?
Same video.
Yeah.
It's always Canon.
Yeah, something like that. I think, no, I did Canon and Nikon. So, I'm trying to be fair.
Oh yeah. Okay.
All right, let's move on. Laowa has made the world's first zoom shift lens. And when I put this on the board, Jordan immediately said, I have thoughts. So,
Yeah.
Jordan,
Oh,
thoughts?
I mean, I think this idea is really cool. We don't see a lot from tilt shifts. There's some manual focus ones out there from third-party companies, but it would be cool to see some innovation, like autofocus shift, stuff like that. A zoom tilt shift does make a ton of sense.
Just shift,
to have
no tilt.
Or sorry, just shift. Sorry, I always lump those two together. It does make a lot of sense because if you're using them for architecture or something like that, you might.
You're going to get some comments again.
Yeah. No, our audience. But what they've basically done is they've taken a full frame lens, which we said in our review, like the issue with this thing is the corners, and then they're letting you shift within that, which means you're moving. If you go outside of that area on an APS-C sensor, you're off to the edges now, is not terribly good there. So on one hand, I'm like, this is kind of a clever, reuse of a lens. But on the same token, I just don't think it's that useful. But I think maybe this will set a standard. Like, I'd love to see someone make a really good tilt and shift zoom. I know it would be complicated optically, but it would be cool to see some innovation on that side. I just think it's odd how they got away with it with this.
Yeah, I'm going to go the other way. I mean, Laowa is one of those companies that makes lenses that nobody else can imagine. And I mean, they do push the limits. They make some weird stuff sometimes.
Canon,
I don't know, like,
would it
again,
be funny if
for
Canon's
context,
lens
this only
that
covers an
they're releasing
APS-C
is
sensor.
a shift lens, a zoom shift lens.
It's just
they took one of their wide-angle
did it.
full-frame lenses and just let you shift around in APS-C, and they're like, "Damn it, someone else imagined it."
We've got
now
the
they
Canon
can't
only
release
do
it.
it for 1-inch sensors. But I mean, it only covers APS-C sensors to actually do tilt shift. So I mean, or shift. So, if you can shoot full frame with it, but then it basically operates like a 12-24 and you can't shift really because you're going to lose the image circle. So I don't know. It doesn't excite me very much. I don't think it's that interesting. I'd rather have like a good tilt shift ultra wide fixed lens from them that operates on full frame. But hey, that's okay.
I mean, you can still use it as just a full frame wide angle zoom lens.
Yeah,
that's also
as a
an option.
12-24.
So,
But,
I think
little
Laowa
lens
are great
wasn't that
at
great,
making
though.
these niches within a niche, like lenses that you probably don't actually need. Like they do ultra wide
and
angle
reusing
zooms.
optical formulas over and over and over.
Yeah, that's their thing.
Yeah.
All right, last thing, and this is more of a call out. So if you didn't know about this at this point, I don't know how you don't know about this, but I figure some of you probably didn't. Serif Affinity, which was recently acquired by Canva, they are providing access to their suite of applications for 6 months as a trial with no strings attached for free. So you can go download Affinity Photo, try it out, and you don't even need to give them an email address, no credit card information, none of that. You can just download it and try it, and it'll work for 6 months, and you can decide whether or not that's enough for you to try a different software than Adobe.
So a sponsor.
Is Adobe or Affinity a sponsor? Is that what you're asking? Not right now.
Can we say bad stuff?
Yeah.
Yes.
The naming is rubbish. How are you supposed to say that really quickly? Serif Affinity.
Just say Affinity, I think.
Serif, yeah, but it's Serif. Well, Serif is
Serif's
the
the
brand
company.
name,
Double
right?
A.
Yeah,
Affinity.
it's the company.
Yeah.
Affinity.
So you've got to
And
say
it's photo.
Serif Affinity. You said Serif Affinity. That's a pain in the
Yeah.
ass to say. Rethink that, guys. Jeez.
It's like the rural juror on 30 Rock. Yeah, it's very much the same thing.
Stop giving 6
By
months.
the way,
Even if
you
we trials
changed it.
and
You could've-
concentrate on sorting that name out.
Even
Christ.
if they were a sponsor, I don't think I would have told you couldn't say that, Kai. They don't control what is said by you, especially.
Well,
But they're
got a
not,
list
so-
of other
They're not,
shits
yeah.
to
Stupid
say.
name.
Okay.
Okay, so on that note,
Even
actually,
if they changed it to Canva Affinity, it still doesn't make sense. It's just it's
It
terrible.
was Canva
so
anyway.
I want to tell all the listeners this. Canva,
Okay.
they make like online, like you can make designs through your browser. It's very popular. Like millions of
Okay.
people use it. It's like hugely popular. A lot of companies sign up for it.
Rubbish name though.
That's why they
should
were
have
able
an
to
S on
buy
the end.
Serif Affinity.
It's Canvas, not Canva. What's a Canva? Christ.
That was already taken. A Canva van.
What I was gonna
We're
say
going canving.
for anyone who's still tuned into this conversation, in a couple of weeks, Chris, Jordan, and I will have an opportunity to talk to folks at Adobe. We do want to ask them legitimate questions from y'all, what you would like them to answer about their software for photographers. So if over the next couple of weeks, I'm going to be looking and sourcing questions, you can send them in as a variety of ways. You can put them as a comment, you can send them as an email, or you can send us a speak pipe. At any rate.
Okay.
What?
I do want to bring something up though here. So, at the start you were saying like millions of people use Canva for sure. Lots of people have probably heard of this software already. But honestly, when you pointed out to me a couple months ago, I hadn't heard of it. And clearly Kai hasn't heard of it, right?
Yeah.
This brings up, so it's smart that Affinity is trying to get this out there so people can try it, especially with Adobe and its woes right now. But at the same time, like Kai, I want to ask you, like, you've played with other software programs. I'm assuming you use Adobe products for your editing. Like, have you ever looked at, or what is that to you, having alternatives to Adobe? Is that interesting? Is that like, no, I don't want to do it?
Yeah, for sure. It's always good to have options, isn't it? I mean, I'm pretty boring when it comes to editing software. I just use the same thing that I've been using for years. I don't really try too many different types of software, but I think Adobe's just got it.
Yeah.
Adobe's, somebody needs to take them down a notch, don't they? But first of all, they need to sort out their names.
And it's nice that Affinity's trying. I mean, because the other thing that they're saying is they're not going to do a subscription. Now, Canva is subscription based, but Affinity, Serif is saying it won't be. It'll be, perpetual.
Never has been
license. Yeah, $70 if you want their basic, like $165 if you want their full suite, and you'll have that forever. And I'm, and that's great because I know a lot of people are against the whole subscription feel right now. But at the same time, that only stays perpetual until it's not, right? I mean, I'm skeptical on that. They could change it anytime they want. They'd be like, the current economic climate means we have to go.
I mean, Capture One did it, so yeah, anyone can just,
anybody can do it.
Yeah,
but great. I mean, this is what they need to do, is like let people try it. Maybe I'll even try it. But I'm a straight up trick. I'm a John for Adobe. Like, they're my prostitute, and I will pay them because they do things my wife won't do. And I just like the software. It makes me happy. So I don't know. That's tough. I don't know what to do about it. It's hard to pull me away from that.
Your metaphors are really leaning in one direction this episode. I've noticed.
They really are.
Is he always like this, or is it just?
So I do want to
just saying, like,
I'm going to loop it back. No, it is often like this.
If Adobe didn't make me feel so good after a session, like, I would go to somebody else, right?
Jesus
like,
Christ.
I don't know.
Well, on that note, guys, again, I want to bring it up. If you have questions you'd really like Adobe to answer, please put them in the comments. Send us an email. Send us a speak pipe. We will put those to Adobe, and we've told them that they're coming. That we're going to have questions from our listeners. So, do that.
Yeah.
On that note, we're going to move on to the main story. We're going to talk about the R3 line and whether or not it should still exist and whether we think it's going to. And to start this off with, I'm going to put a graphic on screen for y'all. It is a side-by-side comparison of the R3 and the R1. And it'll give you guys something to look at while we have this. I'll put it back and forth as the conversation takes off. But I did my best to put these side-by-side with basically exact similar specifications on each, like the sensors here, then followed by the processor, followed by the autofocus system. So this will be up anytime anyone mentions it. But before I get these guys to provide their insight on this, there is something I wanted to point out that Chris in particular was like, that doesn't seem right. Did you check that? And yeah, we checked it multiple times. Turns out that the rear LCD, the vari-angle touchscreen on the R1, is a 3-inch, technically 2.95 if you look at the Canon specifications we got, 2.1 million dot, while the R3 is a 3.2-inch, 4.2 million dot. So it's like half the resolution. And we looked into it, and there's no...
I was like, that's got to be a typo.
Yeah, it's like there's no way that's right. It is. It's on the special.
I was like, Jaron, you're stupid. You made a mistake on that.
I've been known to do them, but this was something we missed. I didn't see this, and so Canon doesn't publish brightness levels on its LCD or EVF, and they don't tell us if there's like a color better? Like, is the color better on the R1s? They don't say any of that. All they say is the size and the resolution. So we're forced to essentially be like, well, then it's a straight
It's a downgrade. Yeah.
Unless they tell us otherwise why they would do this.
Yeah.
But then that led down a slightly different rabbit hole. And we notice that Canon has a different LCD for the R6 II, the R5 II, the R3, and the R1, which from a manufacturing perspective is very confusing to me. Like, why wouldn't you reuse these? But
they go
don't?
to Liquidation World and they just like look in the bin and like, oh,
They're like,
there's
what's on sale
100,000
this week? Yeah.
Yeah.
Super weird. But okay, so leaving this graphic, I'll bring it up a couple more times throughout the conversations, but I'm going to throw it to Kai first and ask him to give his thoughts on these two cameras and like what he thinks of the future line for these, because Canon did tell us, I don't know if they told you, Kai, but the R3 is supposedly not going anywhere. And my question is why?
The R3 series specifically, they said, which I found interesting.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I don't understand how they're going to make an R3 Mark II now and not crap all over the R1, because it doesn't leave much room between the R1 and the R3 to do anything. I mean, maybe they can do global shutter or something like that, but then they'll make that better than the R1, won't it? I just don't. I mean, they've surely got a clear load of stock of R3, so I can understand why they'll keep the current R3. I mean, they've still got the RP available, and that's an old rubbish camera that nobody wants. But yeah, it's crazy because I've only had like 5 minutes with the camera, and I believe you guys have only had 5 minutes as well.
5 hours.
5 hours. So we're
Don't
just
forget
combining
lunch and bus time.
We're just combining the short amount of time we've had together and trying to figure out what's going on. And I still can't figure it out. Why would you keep the R3 alive?
I mean, it makes sense right now to have it like super cheap existing stock.
Yeah,
but
it is actually. It's so cheap that B&H won't tell you how much it costs. If you go there and you Google, you just like search R3. They have a list price for it, which is $4,500. But that's not how much it costs. You have to send them an email, and then they'll tell you they'll give you the straight poop, as you would say, Jordan, on how much it really costs.
A phrase that exists.
Please check the affiliate links down below, by the way, if you want to check out the price.
Yeah, buy a Canon R3 from Kai's website.
Oh yeah, mine too. Is it? Share.
Yeah, click his links.
Yeah.
I imagine that every dealer everywhere who's sitting on R3s is like, okay, guys, like their reps are just like, what are we going to do with this thing? Like, what can we do about the price on this camera? Something's got to give. Nobody's going to buy it anymore. And if you had like 10 or 20 units in your warehouse, I'd be straight pooping myself.
The tough thing is, if they make the R3 cheaper, then will people buy the R1? I don't feel that enthusiastic about the R1. They've got
that's a
better EVF
good point.
And all this deep learning stuff,
Right.
which I don't know, didn't seem to work that amazingly, as Locke said. So what has the R1 got then?
Well, again, I have to keep going back to the fact the R1s that we played with were very early.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the hit rates I think they're going to be great. I think it's going to be very fast focusing, very good for sports action and journalism. But at the same time, yeah, as you say, it really leaves the R3 in a very strange hole. Drop the price on the R3, people will buy the R3 instead. Don't drop it. No one's going to touch it. So, yeah. And will it even continue? I think it really does set up the R1 to now have multiple versions for, maybe a higher resolution version in the future, maybe a video-centric cinema version in the future. I think they're going to go that route. But that does leave the R3
it still makes
in the water.
That still makes the standard one the sports camera. And I do think this does lend a lot of credence to that theory that the R3 was supposed to be the R1 and the R1 that we have now was supposed to be the R1 Mark II. That would have made a ton of sense. The line would make sense. And we could have skipped the slide about the R3 still continuing because it would have just been the previous model. That's what I think did happen.
I think the safest option is
I hadn't
just
thought of
take
it the same way that
all of the R3 bodies back and just dismantle it and just pretend it doesn't exist. Just sweep under the carpet.
Just put the better screen on the R1s once you dismantle those. Just slap those on there.
It's an
I
upgrade
did
option.
write a story about how the R3 definitely should have been the R1. Yeah, I mean, that's they're not going to do it. This was a whole like a branding and marketing bungle, basically, is how this is eventually going to play out. I'm looking at this, and I hadn't thought of it the way that Kai just pointed it out. That if you make it too cheap, why would anyone buy the R1? Because the value proposition isn't so grand, seemingly from
Yeah.
what we've seen with it, and looking at the specs side by side, isn't so greatly better that it would warrant spending twice as much to get the R1 when the R3 actually is still quite performant. You get 10 more frames per second with the electronic shutter. You get the same amount with mechanical. There's no pre-burst on the R3. That's nice. I like that about the R1. Uh,
Yeah.
the eye control AF was supposedly improved. Chris, did you think that it was? Did you feel improved?
I
You
mean,
say
it was
it
so
was.
buggy and it still worked.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
sure.
Great.
Yeah. You know.
It
Yeah.
has better Wi-Fi, and then it has the in-camera stuff like uprising and noise reduction, and the ability to shoot
Who
1080p
cares?
video
Yeah.
and JPEG simultaneously.
Yeah.
But and then the viewfinder is better,
Mhm.
but the
Yeah.
rear LCD is significantly worse. It is
You
very
know,
strange looking at these specs side by side like this, which I had not done until
yeah.
today, by the way, like seeing them like
We're
this.
not trying to crap on Canon.
No,
It's
not
just
generally.
they've put themselves in this weird marketing hole where anybody who owns an R3, why would they buy an R1? Right. And if you have an R3 for a lower price option, why would you buy an R1? And if you buy an R1, why would you buy an R3 as a backup? Like it's just weird. It's strange that they've put themselves in this position. So
Yeah, and they basically
I don't know.
can't upgrade firmware wise the R3, or it compresses that gap further and makes it
Yeah.
even harder to buy an R1. So the R3 has to be completely ignored now, other than basic bug fixes that might come up, small performance enhancements, improve its ability to work with memory cards, like stuff like that, like upgrading its ability to connect with certain Wi-Fi networks, like real minor stuff. Otherwise, it really becomes difficult to rationalize buying an R1.
Well, I was going to say the biggest upgrade for me going from the R3 to the R1 was that C-Log 2, which would absolutely just be a firmware update. Like they could
Yeah.
make that competitive there as well.
I mean, neither of these have
C-Log 2 is so
waveform.
good. That's true. Okay, no upgrade there. Yeah.
Otherwise, video specs are fairly similar, right?
That's what I said
identical.
when I
They're identical.
kicked off the R1. They are so similar, and especially with
Yeah.
that sensor reading out. Now I'm hearing like maybe more than twice as fast as the older sensor. We should have seen, some things like oversampled 4K 120. The sensor can absolutely do it. It's surprising we didn't see that, because that's
So
where
that has
that faster readout
future
would offer
firmware.
real benefits. Yeah, it could be a future
firmware
update.
upgrades. Yeah.
Did you get any
Do you
specifications?
even remember
about
that over
overheating?
4 million dot panel? Like, I don't.
Because they
Well,
seem-
we want
they-
to test it ourselves, because
Yeah.
what they sent was missing like very key things that really gave the R3 issues, like the 4K 120 recording was a real problem on the R3, and we didn't have a spec for that with the overheating threshold on the R1, which makes it feel like everything that might look slightly underwhelming, they were just like, well, just don't put that spec on the spec sheet. Like we didn't have battery life for the EVF with our initial spec sheet as well on the R5 II, because
It's so
it's
early.
like half of what it is off the LCD.
Because we got the specs about overheating for the R5 II, but then nothing for the R1. And okay, maybe it doesn't overheat or what, but it would have been nice to get it. It seems like they're not thinking that it's a video camera, or used.
Kai,
for
if
that
this is
purpose.
any explanation of how Canon does anything, I kind of keep coming back to that viewfinder thing where they say it's 3 times brighter on the R1 than the R3, but they've provided no actual numbers from either camera, so you just have to take their word for it. And the other thing that they didn't do is on the R1, at least in US speaking websites that we found, North America, UK, Canada, they didn't say the refresh rate, how many frames per second it did. We actually had to go to Canon North Africa, who actually finally did publish it does reach 120 frames per second, which is why we have it on this on the graphic.
Thank goodness for the Moroccans.
It's just to me it's so strange how inconsistent or incomplete a lot of the specifications we got from them are. So it's not uncommon. It's just lame.
It's just an early launch, right? Really early launch.
No, but they still don't provide that information. They should have if they gave a spec sheet.
I'm sorry, I just have to interrupt and say, when the specs are Moroccan, Jaren will come knocking. I just want that on the record.
My gosh.
Jeez. No. Anyway, I just wanted to have this conversation with y'all because this is a very confusing situation. And I really don't know if there has been a situation quite like this with any other camera company
Yeah.
before, where you
I think we're
have,
gonna have to sit on it, just let the dust settle,
yeah,
and wait for final cameras, and then we're gonna have to revisit the whole thing over again to see like
I
what
wouldn't
is the
expect final
viability.
cameras until at least September at this point.
Yeah. And I don't think Canon's trying to be deceptive necessarily. I
No.
think they're just like their marketing is put them in a position where they're forced to launch ahead of its time, and that always causes a lot of issues that you then have to play catch up on, or cover up, or just please hold on until later. We'll see.
Kai, do you
That
foresee
R5 II,
yourself
it's nice.
doing? Do you see yourself doing an R1 full review?
Yeah, I think it deserves it because, after doing that initial first impressions or whatever you want to call it, it just felt like, we've got the details of what's new, but it doesn't feel like you can come up with anything meaty within just 5 minutes. And it
Yeah.
almost felt
Yeah.
like, okay, what is the purpose of this video then? We're just basically reading what they've told us. Yeah, I think it deserves it. This is the kind of camera that deserves full hands-on reviews, and the R5 too as well.
Are we going to see it at the Olympics, which are starting like in a few days?
Yeah.
Oh, I can guarantee you that it will
Yeah.
be there. Someone from Canon, I was riding on
Yeah.
the van back with someone who manages like their inventory at events, and he's like, "Oh yeah, all of these are going, almost all of them, because I think some went to elsewhere, but like a vast majority were going to Paris so that they can be given to anyone who wants to use them." But I sure hope that they have upgraded the firmware on all those,
Yeah.
because I don't think it's a good idea to try and test a camera this early, where you have to be making money while you're there. Some of them may have the opportunity to be like, well, I'm not responsible for this event, I'll just go try it. But it's like, when you're not shooting, you're not making money. So why would you shoot unless there's like some
trial
other
by fire?
Yeah.
The Parisian floors will be littered with R1 badges as they fall off their pre-production.
When they remove just for context, remove the electrical tape that was covering it, and the badge came right off.
And I thought there was just no badge, so we shot all of our B-roll without the R1 badge on it, but it was still just like stuck to the electrical tape when we revealed it. Yeah,
never seen that before.
They need some glue. The Olympic cameras need some glue.
The last thing I have no. Oh, go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead, Chris.
Sorry, I have no doubt they're going to give the R1 to their ambassadors, not Olympics, but like ambassadors, and they'll go out and they'll shoot like stunning wildlife and great sports shots and stuff like that. Like, I still am very confident that this is an excellent camera for what it's designed for. Even in the early stage, I found it to be a very useful tool. So I can see that already. That doesn't mean that it's going to be practical or financially viable, any of that, but I think it's a good camera. I think it's a very good camera for what it does. So, and it has a great sensor for the speed. It does.
So that's what actually is a good segue. I'm glad you talked, because I wanted to ask the three of you, because I saw this. I think it was either a comment on PetaPixel or on a response on Threads. Someone was mentioning that the dual pixel nature of Canon sensors is it is good and bad, in that some people swear that it produces better pixel density in images. Like, things just look better because there's twice as many pixels being responsible for what would be perceived as a single pixel. And I have no idea if any of that's true. I have no idea about any of this, other than the dual pixel is just what they call their ability to do focus. Does that have any credence in technically being correct? That this is actually not a 24 megapixel. It's really a 48 compressed to 24. That's what I saw.
No, the files look like they're 24 megapixel files.
Yeah, we can stick them side by side with other cameras with the same resolution. I mean, that's what the DP review test scene is incredible for. And yeah, we're not like, if there was a night and day sharpness difference between, like, everyone would be talking about it and losing their minds over it. And even if you look at dual pixel RAW, where it's saving the information from both pixels, we don't see a sharpness increase when we're doing that. There's the ability to occasionally shift it like a quarter of a millimeter one way or the other, but it's not giving you a sharpness benefit. It's for their autofocus.
It takes nice photos.
Anything to add, Kai?
Yeah, I'm sure somebody with who actually would look into it properly has better opinion than me. But I don't think it. As long as it looks good, that's fine, isn't it?
I mean, back in the SLR days, it was like, yeah, this is totally useful because we were getting good video autofocus and actually really good autofocus when you flip the mirror up. I remember with the 5D4, we were like, look, for the best autofocus performance, skip the optical viewfinder and just shoot off the back display on it. There, it made a real difference. But then we've seen every other company doing phase detect on chip, and we're not seeing like a degradation in image quality with it. And their autofocus is as good and in some cases better using that technology. So if it's cutting our readout speed in half to do dual pixel, why is Canon still doing that? Because clearly they are struggling to keep up with what Sony's doing with sensors right now. Why additionally handcuff yourself to this technology?
So I was asking,
back in the day when
does dual pixel hold Canon back?
I don't know if it holds it back, but all the main advantages were back in the day when we were, getting our fire from lightning strikes and trying to breed out the Neanderthals. So, I don't know if that's really like. I think it's just now a marketing. I think it's just a marketing name now more than anything, and it works fine. But we're not seeing any major image quality improvements.
Samsung does dual pixel too.
That's true.
It's worth.
And they have pretty quick, zippy readout. Interestingly, Samsung also does have sensor fabrication. So that is actually quite interesting. But I mean, let's think about it in terms of the R1. If the dual pixel autofocus means that camera, I mean, now we're hearing like pretty close to a 400th of a second readout, which I definitely want to definitely retest. It looks like it's a little quicker than I initially thought. If that could have been an 800th of a second, I mean, then we're really opening the door to like some cool video capabilities. It's essentially a global shutter in a lot of cases at that point. Then it's a huge misstep to have dual pixel autofocus lopping that in half.
Let's wait and see.
Yeah. All right. That's that. I'll put that graphic up one last time if anyone wants to do a comparison side by side to see why we're having this conversation at all. And I hope that this sort of explains that. We're going to move on now to what have you been up to, where I'm going to hand the microphone to Kai, who did not seem prepared for me to do this when we first initially got on. But this is usually when we let someone talk about whatever they want to talk about, hawk their products, tell us what they're doing, do anything neat. Kai, what are you doing lately? What's worth sharing with the audience?
I'm not doing anything. I'm mainly looking after kids and trying to fit in this whole YouTube thing in between doing school runs and shiz like that. So, there's a book there. I did a book before. Gordon Lane told me off in Japan. He said, you should promote your book more. You're not doing enough. He's like my book publisher. He should be a publisher. Book. It's in Chinese. And
what's the name of your book?
Old School Photography. And then the Chinese one is also called Old School Photography. So, yeah.
But in Chinese.
Caters. Yeah. No, it says in English there. Oh, there you go. It's in English.
Ooh,
that's a cool cover.
So basically, all languages covered for as long as you understand Chinese or English. So if you like film photography,
as long as
you read Chinese, you read English, sorted. Yeah, but no, I mean, I kind of. I watched Gordon's guest appearance on your podcast, and I thought his books are like on his shoulders. He's balanced them on his shoulder.
Yeah.
But then the background. Yeah. I thought, is that allowed on the podcast? But I didn't realize you could plug stuff. Oh, crap.
Buy Kai's book.
Put your book on your lap.
Oh, he's doing it.
Just leave it there in your lap. Yeah.
Yeah,
great.
The whole rest of the pod. Anything cool coming up on your channel? Any videos you're working on right now that
Same rubbish.
We should be anxiously awaiting?
No.
Same rubbish. Unsubscribe.
Jeez,
no.
How do you? Not a very good salesman of your own product there, Kai.
I want you to go on a book tour so bad. Just
don't buy it. It's crap.
The book is available.
If you run out of toilet paper, you can crumple up. Back in my uni days, I used to use I don't know if you've got yellow pages over there. It's like a directory of all the local businesses.
Yes.
We ran out of toilet paper, and I crumpled them up, the pages, and used it to wipe my bum. But anyway, you could do the same.
I thought it was weird for you to print at triple ply. Now it makes sense.
A bit glossier. So it's a bit smoother.
Oh my gosh.
might not do the job so well. But no, you know what?
Guys.
I don't know if I'm just a jaded. You know, we've been on the YouTube circuit for a long time. I don't know if you feel as jaded, but sometimes I'm like, oh yeah, okay, we've got to keep up this YouTube game or whatever people are calling it these days.
No, we love it. We're going
What?
strong.
PetaPixel must be paying you well, better than DP Review probably.
No, that's not.
They
No,
don't
but
have
it
many.
is a
That's
legit
the
thing.
problem, isn't it?
No, it's a legit thing. It's a lot of work, and I think a lot of people out there. I was off topic, but a lot of people are seeing like, oh, all these YouTubers are doing videos, or like, I can't do it anymore. I gotta
Yeah.
take it back and back seat and stuff. And it's like, yeah, it's hard, and it's hard to mix it with family life, and it's hard to mix it with getting things done and stuff like that for sure. But I don't know, Jordan. We're just just dumb enough and ignorant enough
that's
that
what
it
it is.
doesn't really
Yeah.
resonate.
It's the dumb. Yeah.
Yeah, so we just we're just goofy smiles. We're like, oh, what's our next camera? Let's do it. Like, so we're lucky that way. We're dumb enough that we still enjoy it.
The thing with us is that we're kind of the grumpy old school YouTubers. The new YouTubers, they've got so much energy and they're so positive. It's just that's why they can't keep up with it. It's like they have to put all this
Yeah.
energy in their videos, just being, yeah, what's up, guys? And in reality, they're like us probably. They're like, Christ, sorry, I swore.
Dying inside.
Oh, damn, this is rubbish. That's rubbish. Everything's rubbish. The whole world's rubbish. And so we don't have to use any energy
I'm
to
still
do it.
feeling good about it. So,
do Chris, Jordan, do you have anything you want to say about what you've been up to?
oh,
They
go
get to
Jordan.
plug stuff as well.
So we do.
Yeah. No, we just talk about what we've actually done.
We're just going to talk about what's going on in our lives.
I've got a used fridge.
Guys, I don't know if you know this
I've got a used
struggle.
fridge.
How much is that going for?
Depends. I can sign it. If that, I'll give
you 30 quid if you ship it for free.
If you read Chinese or English, I can throw one of these in.
Okay, I want your used fridge full of all your books. Ship it for free. I'll give you 30 quid. Yeah, and then I will have all the toilet paper I need for the rest of my life.
And you can put it in the background of
Cold
your studio
toilet paper
setup.
as well.
Yeah, I think.
And I'm going to learn Chinese. I'm going to learn Mandarin so I can read your book.
Yeah, you've got a following in China, haven't you, Mr. Redbeard? Is it Mr. Redbeard?
I do.
This Brother Beard.
Do
you diet?
Yeah.
Jordan, get in here before we run out. Before we've too far derailed.
Okay, very quickly. This is a shout out to Chris largely because I've had a conundrum in my life. I love me a good hot wing. Everybody should know this. But if you buy like those pre-made, like throw it in your oven yourself, all of them are garbage, right? Like no one has ever made a good hot wing that you can reheat yourself. So the two of us are like, no, we're figuring out how to do this properly. Chris constantly raves about his hot wing cooking, and we cracked the code. It's aluminum-free baking powder with a rub beforehand.
What I said.
We made it last night. Best wings we've ever had.
This is a sponsor.
Yes, it is possible to do just a restaurant quality wing. Thank you for the help on that, Chris. My life is now better.
It changes the pH. My wife does that too. It's my favorite.
Yeah, I had an in-depth conversation with your wife about it, and I'm glad
it led to glorious, great things. Definitely not worth derailing the podcast to bring up.
Links down below.
Yeah, for the specifically Arm and Hammer.
Go to Kai's
brand.
website. You can find aluminum-free baking powder, and he will send it in an old fridge.
Chinese
book.
In fact, the pages of his book are made out of baking powder.
I want to say that I was just this past weekend. I went to a wedding of a friend of mine who's also a writer on PetaPixel, Lisa Marie, and she is winding down her time at PetaPixel because she's going to go join the lawyers in New York and become she's going to law school. Wow. And on that note, if any of you are interested specifically in work in writing for PetaPixel, we're looking for a contract position to replace her, typically in the mornings, and we're looking at culture, technology, and social media was her beat. So if you are interested in that, please let me know. Send an email to PetaPixel. Send us a tip. use the tip line on PetaPixel.
So I'm gonna get the basement redone. Nobody ever sees it. You just see my little cove here, and beyond it is just destruction and plastic and mess. But we're gonna get the whole basement redone for a workspace. So I don't know exactly when that's gonna happen, but it's happening soon. So I've been preparing, bringing people in, measuring everything. Like, this is what's gonna cost. This is what we're gonna do. So there'll be a period where the podcast is going to be me. I don't know where. I don't know, outside in the garden or against a wall. I have no idea, but we'll figure it out. And then we'll have new space to do our work.
But at the end of it all, will I be able to have more than 2 focal lengths that I can use to capture your space? Because I swear there is like 1 centimeter on either side of him. That's at ends.
Oh no, it'll be a much better like studio space for our thumbnails and for our lens tests and stuff like that. But I already gave you a hot wing recipe. You don't get to ask me for anything else.
What I've always wondered, why is it that Chris and Jordan, you don't share the same studio for the podcast? Why do you do it in your separate spaces?
Because we see each other enough as it is.
You're sick of each other.
He's handsy. Like both of us are sitting at desks. He's just like it just comes out from.
Well, it just comes.
I don't have
some distance.
Oh, jeez. I was waiting for someone to say something. All right, let's move on to tech support. We have a lot of these, and because in the last few weeks we haven't been able to get through many of them, but
we still won't.
Yeah, we won't. We're not going to catch up. But I do say I put 2 that were submitted recently at the top here because they are Canon related, and since this is probably the last major Canon podcast we'll have in a while, figured I'd toss them in here. We'll listen to one right now.
And Kai Wong's going to answer all of these for us.
Oh no,
I don't think he knew that. Well, we're going to listen to one from Arne. Hi, Arne. On SpeakPipe.
Arne.
Let's listen in.
Hey, PetaPixel peeps. Arne from Germany. A follow-up question to your R5 coverage. Some time ago, you had a long piece on your website about German nature photographer Sandra Batocha struggling with Nikon removing in-camera multi-exposure RAW options from their Z-line cameras. Back then, the original Canon R5s and R6s allowed for in-camera multi-exposure RAW. Now, with the R5 and R6 Mark II and the R1 and R3, the option's gone with Canon 2. So, do you have any knowledge why this might be? Did Canon tell you, or can you make any educated guesses? I'm very puzzled by the decision to take away this feature that worked really well on the original R5. Thank you very much. As always, love the pod, love your work, and Chris, don't freak out. I said Nikon because it's the way you say it in Germany. It's not to state that's the way you should say it. Bye, guys.
Oh, you mean I have to answer a question that was directed to you
that's
guys?
what I said. Yeah.
I don't know. Ask AI. I don't have the answers to everything.
This came in late. Like we had such a rushed testing with this. Like these the kind of small features that we'd love to actually talk to the manufacturer, see if there is some kind of limitation, with the sensors that they're doing, the way the processing works that they've changed. It's a very weird omission, and we're seeing a few. Like I constantly complain about the lack of 4K, 6K photo being removed from Panasonic cameras arbitrarily. Sometimes just to streamline the interface, they'll take away useful things that not a lot of people are doing, but it can be a problem. So yes, when we do a full R5 II, R1, I mean, who's going to do multi-exposure on the R1? Probably not many people, but we'll ask why that is and see if we can get an answer for you. And just let the companies know there is a demand for these features they're taking away.
Yeah. But it is strange. It happens often and it's strange and I don't know why. And with all the processing power going up, but they take away more feature, it seems weird. I don't know. The only thing I can think of is that there's maybe like a big requirement to have the engineers and the code writers to actually devise these things, and maybe that's really expensive, and so I think it comes to cost where like we can't pay people to support these features in the new cameras and rewrite code for the new processing. Like maybe that's what it is. That's where my brain
I
goes.
guess they can't always know
anyways.
exactly what everybody wants. They probably think actually we can probably sever some of these features. We can cut some of these things out, and then they didn't realize that people actually want it.
Yeah, like a level when you're recording video for the last decade, things like
Yeah,
that. Like,
or like
who would ever want
waveform.
this? Yeah,
Like waveforms in a flagship
in a
camera.
flagship camera. Yeah, a more useful way to meter a scene. Let's take that away.
All right.
The next one is from Siler Peralta Ramos. It's also a speak pipe, so let's listen to the question.
Hi guys, I'm a professional wildlife photographer and I mainly shoot with Canon at the moment, but I'm trying to decide whether to upgrade to the R5 Mark II or whether to use this as an opportunity to jump ship, most likely over to Nikon because of their wildlife lens selection, as well as camera bodies that offer what seem to be similar to what the R5 Mark II offers at a lower price point, and also did so many years ago and will likely have further upgrades soon. I'm wondering if, from what you guys have seen from the R5 Mark II, in terms of its autofocusing capabilities, different unique things like the eye-controlled autofocus, as well as sort of how much of a problem that slower readout speed is, whether you recommend sticking with Canon or whether, if you were to have the opportunity to switch over to Nikon from Canon as a wildlife photographer, do you recommend doing that at this stage? Thank you so much for your advice, and I look forward to hearing from you guys.
This one to me felt like one that I think a lot of people are thinking about, which is why I
Yeah.
left it in here, because we usually don't do these like specifically should I buy this question, but
Mm.
this sort of is a point where you can make that decision because Canon has come out with what the best they can do for many years in this area. And yeah, what do you think, Kai?
I guess it's. I mean, as we mentioned earlier, it's still too early to really, come up with a sweeping statement about the R1 because they just haven't given us enough time. And
Well,
the
R5 Mark II is what
final-
he's asking for
Oh,
specifically.
well, same. R5
Yeah.
Mark II is.
They didn't let an owl loose in the gym.
Yeah, I mean the Nikon, whatever you want to call it, they're great cameras, but all of these kind of jumping ship cameras are quite. I don't want to say jump ship, go and do it because this is a costly thing to do to jump ship just based on a camera that we've held for about 5 minutes, 5 hours, and it's not even the final firmware.
With Siler did actually say it here. I mean, one of the main things with Nikon is they do have amazing wildlife lenses, and that's huge. And Canon will probably, Canon make great lenses, no doubt, but they're still relying heavily on people using the EF formulas or revamping EF formulas for mirrorless. I mean, as opposed to like making dedicated lenses for it. And that's too bad. And then when you throw on top of that the fact that the Z8 is such a fantastic camera and that it can do a lot of what this does, the R5 Mark II, you make a good point, Kai. It's early. We don't know yet how it's going to perform. We didn't get to test it on wildlife. So the only thing I would say there is I like the sensor megapixel count for wildlife. Canon do traditionally have excellent wildlife detect autofocus, and I don't see that changing. I could see the eye control being very useful for wildlife. Absolutely. Maybe even more so than for sports for a lot of things where you just, you got things lost in the background and you want to focus on them. But yeah, that's a tough one. I think the R5 Mark II will make a great wildlife camera. Absolutely.
Yeah,
but
I think Canon should add that face registration thing for animals as well. They should. Like, I can register that deer's face,
Not the other lame deers.
you
Yeah,
remember its face.
I really do think like the readout is really valuable if you plan to shoot those super fast bursts all the time. But remember, it does still have a mechanical shutter that's fairly capable at 12 frames per second. So if you're shooting something moving incredibly fast, I'd probably jump over to that. But yeah, I think the eye control is going to be incredibly useful. Go to a camera store, see if it actually recognizes your eyes.
That's true.
That's really key. But that could absolutely be a really nice thing. But I think Chris is right on the money. Like, make sure they have the lenses that you want. I expect they'll start trying to do something similar to what Nikon's done with those really small, wonderful prime lenses. I shot with the 400 4.5 on the weekend and it was banging. I love that lens. So yeah, I'd love to see that.
Speaking of the eye control autofocus, Jordan, I'm wondering, do we know anyone else with light eyes that struggles with this? Do we know someone who has light eyes who's gotten it to work?
It has.
So what's
I'll check the eye colors. I think I was the only person at the
Oh, you did
Okay.
too? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it has to do with eye color.
No.
Like Dave Paul, who's a co-host with Evelyn at TCS TV, he makes it work no problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would be very curious. I think I was the only one at our event, but it wasn't so much a matter of it like malfunctioning. Like every time I tried to hold it up, it was just like calibration failed.
Yeah.
It's
And I was
straight up
like, I'm
HDR.
skipping it. I'm just turning it
Yeah.
on. And
It's
it was
straight
like
up
ping
HDR.
ponging erratically around.
Same.
Like it was utterly unusable for me.
The camera actually uses its face detection remembering capability. It's like, oh, that's Jordan Drake. Yeah,
He's
we
the
don't make
video
it work
guy.
there.
He shouldn't be
Yeah,
using the
no.
camera. We'll make it
Yeah.
frustrating for him. So he gives it to Chris Nichols, who's the photographer. Yeah.
Yeah, they programmed it not to work for you.
Yeah, the
It's a
AI has gotten
personal
too
thing.
good. They're like, this guy unqualified.
All right, next question is another speak pipe. This one's from Dan Duke. Let's listen in.
Hey guys, my name is Dan, and I'm a huge fan of Chris and Jordan's content over the years. It really helps me to get to know more about a broad range of gear to better help my customers. Today, I was thinking about compact everyday cameras and your recent discussion of how other brands should try to cash in on the current demand for items like the X100 series from Fuji and the Ricoh GR series of cameras. And as an Olympus or as an OM system shooter myself, I would love for them to be able to put out a camera of this type. In your guys' opinion, what would a good camera from the OM system look like to take advantage of the heritage of that brand? Looking back at their older cameras like the XA35 as a fixed lens pocket camera, or would you rather see them reimagine the Pen System series of cameras to actually be fixed focal length like the Fuji series? I'm curious what you guys think on this. I'd love to hear your takes. And thank you again for the way that you make learning about new gear so enjoyable.
This is up your alley too, Kai.
Kai, this is right
Very
up your
much-
alley. You
very
go.
much on my alley. I mean, I love Olympus cameras or OM systems as they're called now, and I just think, I mean, I guess it'll be micro four thirds. I just think they could make something incredibly tiny, and that would be a killer compact camera. Something you could just, like the Panasonic GM1 that you could just slip in your pocket. Because I think that's where micro four thirds has to go now. If they keep making cameras that aren't that much smaller than APS-C, then there's no point really.
Well,
Would you like an XA camera? I mean, like they made a whole bunch. The rangefinder was really adorable.
Yeah, I think that's a really cool camera. I just can't imagine them doing it. Like, I'd love to see it. Something like an X100, because X100 has got that whole market of, it's got an optical finder or hybrid finder. There's no other choice if you want that. And if somebody else could do that, that would be fantastic. If it's an OM system or another brand, it would just make things a bit more varied than just, oh, I've got to get the X100 then.
I mean, the big advantage that they have is there's already a bunch of lenses out there that would be absolutely perfect. Like Chris had a GM1 and a GM5, foolishly sold them. That's what I thought he was going to go to with my opening question on this video. But yeah, all those lenses are already there. Everybody else can do a fixed lens camera. Oddly enough, they're not doing it. But I think the real sweet spot for OM would be to make, like you said, Kai, a very small body and like look at all of these incredibly small, very sharp little primes that are all ready to go for you. I just think it's such a missed opportunity at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I've been talking about wanting a GM5 kind of camera again. It's crazy they don't do that. And we were actually just playing with the Deluxe 8, which does have to do with this, right? Companies are rebranding older cameras, releasing them. And I think that's fine. I mean, we've been saying on this podcast for a while now, they should do that. Like, just do it. You don't have to reinvent the wheel, just whatever. But at the same time, the whole time playing with the Deluxe 8, which is very nice, we were kind of like, wouldn't it be great if this had a a 4/3 mount, like a micro 4/3 mount on the front of it, where I could throw one of the old 12 to 30 zooms on there, or the little tiny 20 mil 1.7 pancake, right? Like that would be cool. Interchangeable lenses, still very pocketable size. I would have loved that. So I want to see that next. And Olympus could do that, OM system. Well, they could rehash Olympus brands if they wanted to and do that. But
just put a new sensor in the old Pen F design. That was a great design.
Yeah, I mean, they have I never loved the Pen. I don't know why, but it was pretty. But yeah, make it again. Make it again.
I mean, something like this was great. I think this was a high point.
That a GX1?
No, the EP1.
Oh, sorry, it's an Olympus. Yeah.
EP1, yeah.
I mean, just make that smaller. Just carry this on. It was a great design, and I think but it seems like they're concentrating on the the higher end stuff.
Yeah, sports and wildlife. Yeah.
Again, the only caveat I would say, if OM System is going to redo it, I personally don't want them to just rehash the old model. I know I just said they should do that for a lot of the other stuff, but for
Everyone
OM
except them.
System, OM System, I don't want to see that. OM System, I don't want them just release the PL or the P1. I want them to like make a new camera that is exciting and has new features. As you say, smaller would be great. Smaller body design, more compact. We'll see what happens.
All right. Next question is from Andy Dodson. It's also a speak pipe.
Hi, PetaPixel. Can you tell me, please, why the base ISO of many modern mirrorless cameras is only 100? Why can't they go lower? I know that some of them have that lower setting, but I think you know what I mean. And it would reduce the need for neutral density filters, obviously. Thank you.
Andy, it's basically, some cameras actually have a higher base ISO as well, right? So basically that number that they're using is where the sensor gets maximum saturation from the photons. And so there's no need to go anywhere lower than that. If you go to a lower ISO, Nikon, I think, still does this. Most companies don't anymore. If you go to a lower ISO, you're basically just changing exposure at that point.
Exactly.
You're not changing light levels.
You're throwing away
and then you're throwing away dynamic range. So although you can go to those lower numbers, and it will give you, slower shutter speeds, whatever, you're throwing away image quality, you're throwing away dynamic range. So it's not ideal.
Yeah, you'd get the exact same results by overexposing and then bringing it down in post, which means your highlights are now clipped. It's doing the same thing. Now, there are companies that do prioritize base ISO, like the Nikon is definitely the most notable example with their 64 ISO on it. That's not a digital pull down. That's that those lenses can accept more light before they saturate, which is why the dynamic range on them is so incredibly good. So yeah, I do think some manufacturers need to prioritize that. The issue is historically we've seen that also penalizes you a bit at the high ISO. And certainly in the past, it was like high ISO performance was the most important metric, but I think we're starting to see that change, honestly.
Yeah. But if you see something like low 50 or low 100 or whatever on your camera below the base ISO, that is a pull down. You're losing image quality. It would be better to use the base ISO and stronger ND filters to compensate.
Yeah, the A9 III is a great example. That camera had poor dynamic range because that sensor saturated much quicker in order to enable that fast readout. So that's why its base was actually 250 ISO on it.
Cool. I feel like that was pretty expansive. So we're going to move on to an email from M. Lewis, and this touches a little bit on what we just talked about, but it is a separate question. So he asks in an email, as small new cameras have been recently introduced by Fuji, Panasonic, and now even the Pentax film camera, they are becoming instantly backlogged. Existing smaller cameras like the Sony a6700, Ricoh GR, and even Canon GX7 are out of stock in my local camera store chain in New Zealand. The salesman told me they can't get them in. Not available. Same with the Fuji XS2. In addition, no new small Micro Four Thirds cameras are being released, and the older ones are largely phased out, with a few Olympus and Panasonic cameras trekking on years after release, presumably because of the optimistic manufacturing runs. In the meantime, really old cameras like my GM1 and the X100S have doubled in price on the auction sites. Overall, it seems like there is pent-up demand for something physically smaller, but that little will to make them. And then if they are produced like the new Panasonic S9, manufacturing is constrained, probably due to years of capacity cutbacks to match years of falling demand. It seems like if you don't want a hulking big camera, and especially lenses from Sony, Canon, Nikon, they are less interested in you as a customer, but clearly this is what not what a lot of people want. I guess my question is whether there has been deep cutbacks in capacity for small and less expensive cameras and compacts, such as that companies cannot or don't want to ramp up production again to satisfy demand. Yeah, that's about it.
Kai Wong, can you help M. Lewis with their pent-up demand, please?
Well, I didn't even realize that the GM1 is doubling in price at auctions, but I just, it doesn't seem like it's a popular choice to do for brands to make compact fixed lens compact cameras. Maybe it doesn't earn them enough money when it comes to, you just buy the camera body and that's it. You can't sell them any lenses or any other accessories. I don't know why other brands don't do it, because Sony did the RX1 before, and I just wish Sony could do something like that, because that was a great camera. You've got the RX100, but smaller sensor. Sony totally has the capability to do something like that, but I just wonder why they don't. It kind of
I think it's really a lot of it's that long turnaround time, because when we were back at the camera store, Chris, like more than 6 years ago, we saw like no one wanted small cameras at that point. And we always talk about like that 4 to 5 year development cycle. Like this explosion in interest in these compact cameras is a really recent phenomenon. And I've said it before on this podcast that, in another 4 years, we're going to have a huge number of like fixed lens and compact cameras. But by that point, maybe the demand for it will already be gone. But yeah, I think they need to wind it up, but it's going to take a long time. So
because they wound it down because a lot of them were struggling mightily with losing tons and tons of money. And I think the reason Sony didn't do another RX1 is because the first one did not sell well, and they lost. They took a loss on it, and they don't want to take a loss again.
Yeah.
And it was an expensive camera. So here's a question, though, Kai, because you have right behind you a museum of old cameras. You love compact cameras. You like to use those small cameras. And you like to use a lot of cameras that are maybe not functionally the best, but they're stylish, they're compact, you can take them anywhere, right? And you've written a book about it in Chinese, granted.
And
English. So I guess the question for you, because you're in a unique position to answer this, is being someone who has a lot of those used cameras and a lot of those classic cameras, like, would you be interested in new versions that are basically this rehash, like the Deluxe 8? Are you interested in that stuff? Do you think that's worthwhile doing, or should people just stick to the used market and not worry about it?
I'd love rehashes. Rehashes are great, but at the end of the day, these they're quite conservative. A lot of these brands, they don't want to stick their neck out too far, unless they know something will definitely earn them money. As Jordan was saying, that this whole craze for compact cameras is probably mainly goes back to the Fujifilm X105. I'd say, when that sold out and it was just impossible to get it.
Mm-hmm.
Before that, it's a nice camera, but it's still probably limited to just photo geeks. But the X105 was just something which appealed to a much greater market. And I think if the brands could release something and know that it would be as successful as that, then I think they would do it. But I don't. I think there's no guarantee, even if Sony releases another RX1, that it will be as popular as an X100. The X100 is quite unique in the sense that I don't actually know why. I mean, of course, it looks quite nice. It's a nice looking camera, but how has it become so popular? I just don't get it. I don't know. I don't even know what I'm talking about now. I didn't answer any particular question. There's no answer to that. It's just I'm just adding more questions to the question. But yes, I would love to see more rehashes, Chris. They're great, but let's face it.
Yeah,
what I want is not going to necessarily make sense to a Sony or a Canon. They want to make something which is guaranteed to earn their money.
All right. Next one is an email from Oliver, but his email said his name was Potato Cannon, so I kind of wanted to put both in there because I really liked Potato
Cannon for sure. Let's go with that one.
Hello, Chris, Jaron, and Jordan, and Kai. He didn't write Kai, but I'm putting that in there. My name is Oliver. I've got 2 questions, so I'll keep it brief. With all these actions that Adobe has been taking recently, is there a product on the market that you see as a viable alternative? Yeah, go try the thing we talked about earlier, the Affinity photo.
Serif Affinity.
Yeah, Kai's favorite naming for any product is Serif Affinity photo.
Serif.
The other question he adds is, secondly, is there any hope in a new crop sensor release from Nikon? The Z50 seems like a really good camera that's, in my opinion, hampered by lack of IBIS. With IBIS, maybe an upgraded EVF and USB-C/PD support, I reckon Nikon could release a Z52 that could be a compelling option. I'm currently just a hobbyist using a Nikon D7100 with a side of EM5 II. It's kind of sprinkled in there, and only do photos. I haven't found a good reason to upgrade to a Nikon crop sensor mirrorless, and I'm not particularly compelled to go full frame. Does my future involve Fujifilm, Sony, Canon if I want an APS-C mirrorless? Also, I'd love to see more third-party glass on Z-mount, official or not. There's actually a
Yeah.
pretty solid amount of third-party glass on Z mount, more so than Canon, I guess.
Those Sigma contemporaries rule. Check them out.
This is a good example, though. The Nikon ZFC. I think it's still probably the most beautiful camera design of all time, and it's a good camera. And Nikon was very bold with it, and honestly, it didn't sell very well. And that's surprising, and that's exactly what Kai was talking about, where you can have a company say, okay, yeah, we're telling everybody, maximize your heritage, re-release some cameras, go for that vintage appeal, not too expensive, APS-C to keep costs down, keep it compact, and it didn't do very well. And I mean, the Z50 really didn't do very well.
I'm curious why he didn't mention the ZFC at all in this. Like, he didn't even seem to recognize that was an option. Is that the thing? Like, people forgot it existed?
Well, and Nikon hasn't supported that lineup very well, right? I mean, they did the ZFC release. They said, "Oh, you got these new lenses, but they're full frame lenses." Well, it's weird. Yeah, I don't know. It didn't take off, and that teaches Nikon never to do anything like that again. I mean, the ZF, I think, has done okay, but it's not. Then we're talking that had a lot of
There's
new
lenses
technology.
for it. Yeah.
Yeah, and it had lenses for it and stuff.
The
right
problem
there.
with
So-
the ZFC and the ZF is
And
just
Sony-
they don't have, it's got this whole retro cool look, but then you've just got that one lens that comes with it that's retro cool. They don't bring out all these nice retro cool primes. And I think the ZFC is probably, I think it's a better design than the ZF if we're talking about this whole retro thing.
I agree.
It feels nice like size. It's smaller. Yeah, exactly.
And if they made some nice, small, cool retro-looking primes with it, that would be perfect. But now you're seeing on eBay, and it's just like a few couple $100. You think, crikey, that's mad.
Yeah, it's sad. I mean, does your future involve Fujifilm? No, I mean, Canon aren't supporting their APS-C line really either. I mean, they do make some nice bodies, absolutely. But again, it's the lens support. You don't have it. But that's starting to maybe change slowly for Canon. Fujifilm and Sony, those are great options. I mean, they do have lots of lenses. They're making current bodies. You have the option to go vintage stylish, or with Sony to go compact. I mean, the A6700 is an undersung camera. That thing really is a beast. Like, it's a very capable photo video hybrid, and you've got lots of lenses, and it's not sexy, but it focuses crazy good, and the image quality is fantastic. So, yeah. But Nikon's one of those companies that really has kind of dropped the ball on APS-C, and we'll have to see if they put more effort into it.
I'm going to stick my neck out here. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Chris.
No, go ahead. No, I'm skeptical because their APS-C cameras have not done well.
Yeah, but Nikon, I do feel like they seemed a little lost at the start of the Z mount being introduced with basically all of those bodies there, but they've been on a real roll. So I think either one of two things is going to happen. They're going to really make APS-C Z mount really down market, like just very basic bodies, something like the Z30, to get people into it and just be like, look, there's not a lot of lenses. There's third parties if you want them, whatever. But what I think they might do, I would not be surprised to see them actually do a 6700 competitor, like you mentioned there, Chris, or, like an XT50 kind of thing. I could absolutely see them doing that and taking it seriously, because they're clearly looking at like electronic shutter is kind of the future. And you can get very good stacked sensors for APS-C, like Fuji's doing the XH2S. They could do something similar to that. And I think they could have a really compelling camera pretty easily if they went ahead with that. So we'll see. They're either going to say like APS-C is viable and give you like a real test bed flagship for that, or it's just going to be like, look, we're walking away from it. There's a few lenses if you want them, and we'll just update it every few years just to get people invested in a real camera.
I get the feeling that they're just walking away from it.
I do too.
They're very small as far as companies go, and like they're going to focus on what they can sell. And if they can sell Z6 III, Z8, and Z9.
I feel like Fujifilm's the only company making APS-C cameras for photography that's doing very well.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I
Well,
mean?
they went all
Sony,
in on it. They're very focused.
Yeah.
That's what they do.
Sure.
I mean, and they have medium format too, but like for the longest time, they were just very focused and still are on APS-C. And they're very
Sony
good.
APS-C is doing well, but I think their focus is really on video and vlogging and that kind of thing. And yeah, how many people are buying A6000 series cameras for photography now? I mean, they had their heyday, right? The A6000 was incredible, but I feel like they've kind of that's their Well, you know how I feel
looking at some of the charts coming out of Japan, it seems like the 6700 is kind of a dark horse camera we don't hear about a lot that is selling. So I wonder if Nikon's paying attention to that.
Yeah.
All right, last one is an email, and this one's probably mainly for Jordan. It's from Eagle Helland, Eagle, E-G-I-L. Hi, Chris, Jordan, and Jaren. I'm off to an adventure this autumn, and I will be heading to Madagascar to do some documentary photo and video work pro bono for a Norwegian missionary organization for 2 months. I'm a Fuji shooter, so my plan is to bring an X-T5 for photography and an X-T4 for video work. I've already begun rigging out my X-T4 with a cage, etc., but then I started thinking, following you guys for quite some time, I've seen that you, Jordan, are not traveling with an extensive video rig in most cases. Since I will be traveling around quite a bit, I need my rig to be quite small and handy, yet also be able to capture lav mic, dual channel, and shotgun mic from the camera. Based on your experience, is it better to have less rig around the camera and have sound be captured off camera? I don't have a sound guy with me, so this is a solo operation where I need to monitor the sound consistently and constantly as well. Thanks for any hints.
Don't do it.
Thanks for any hints or tips in advance. All the best from Norway, Eagle. Egil?
But I'm also going to call him Potato Cannon. Everyone who wrote in is Potato Cannon this week.
Potato Cannon, okay.
So I am very curious. I should have checked this before we started the pod. There is a third-party Tascam XLR adapter available for Fujifilm. I want to see if that's compatible with the X-T4 because it came out right around the time. Maybe if Jaren wants to do a quick search while
it's a Tascam XLR adapter for Fujifilm?
For Fujifilm, yeah. And that will give you the multi-channel audio on that. I always prefer, if I'm traveling, not to have to worry about separate sound sync. It's just there's the potential for some real issues there. I will say it's pretty nice in the last little while. We've seen a lot of third-party. You can just get like an HDMI trigger that will, when you hit record on the camera, will tell your external audio devices to start working. Like Tentacle makes that. What's the audio version of Aperture? They're also releasing some little transmitters that'll work with that. That might be a good solution for you if this 4-channel doesn't work. But I would much rather give away a few channels of audio for the stuff that's spontaneous. Like just do a single shoddy, a single lav, something like that. For your planned setups where you need multiple camera audio, that's fine to do separate sound sync. You're going to be on top of that.
Are you thinking of the Tascam CA-XLR 2DF XLR microphone adapter?
That sounds like what I'm thinking, yes.
Okay, because that is compatible with the X-T4 and XS10.
Boom. Okay, so that would be a great solution for you to get a little bit more audio, getting multi-channel audio into that camera. That's something I would definitely check out. But yeah, anytime I'm traveling, I am fixated on keeping things as small as possible. I don't use rigs when we do that. I don't use a matte box. I just use screw-on ND filters for it and try to keep my audio set up really compact.
Even not traveling, even in town, you try to have a very minimalistic.
That's why we moved away from big cinema cameras to using mirrorless cameras as our primary recording. And the big thing too, you mentioned traveling. It draws a lot less attention. As soon as you start putting a cage on something, even this XLR adapter, if you don't need 2 channels, I'd take it off. Just have the least obtrusive camera you possibly can, and you're going to get way better candid footage when you're traveling. And you're going to scare your subjects less.
It's beefy. It looks pretty big, but yeah, neat. Good suggestion. It is $399 and in stock right now. All right, we're going to move on to Never Read the Comments, the section where we always read the comments. And I've only got 3 in here. One of the ones that I was going to have Jordan address was the
what did
outcry.
I do this week?
Yeah, the outcry of how dare he recommend a Sony ZV-E 10 II or whatever it was versus an S9. But he made a whole video about that. So any of you who are like wondering why
but nobody watched it, so they're still going to be giving me a hard time about that conclusion.
So all of you who complained, well, go watch his video, and I'm not going to make a response to it here. But we do have an email from Craig. I just received the 2 T-shirts I ordered from your store, the PetaPixel store. That's store.petapixel.com. He got one that says PetaPixel and Leica. I must say the material you used is superb and in the impressions of the highest quality. Additionally, the black color has a hint of gray blended in. It makes the shirt look even nicer. A great touch. Thank you, Craig.
Thanks for doing that.
We actually tested multiple shirts from multiple vendors to see which ones we wanted and to make sure that they lasted through multiple washes. This one did. And so that's why we
Canvas brand is good.
Links down below.
Glad you went with
Canvas is good.
Links down below.
Yes, store.petapixel.com. Thank you, Kai.
You're planning to order 5 or 6 as soon as this podcast is over,
Kai's
right,
website.
Kai? Yeah.
Of course.
Kai,
take this off.
You're going to wear the PetaPixel logo on your next video, right?
Yeah.
Also, for anyone who wants to know, yes, our store is now international. You can get the shirts shipped basically anywhere.
So like UK viewers and
That's right.
co-hosts could.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. All right.
Are Jaron, are the Brother Beard shirts selling?
Yeah.
They are.
You want
in
numbers? I have actually
Well-
don't know. I haven't looked at exactly where they're going, but I do know that they have been sold. So
China? Okay.
Yeah.
Kai, can you put that in your next book?
I don't
Your-
think
your
they're going
Chinese-only
to sign
book.
me up for the next book, but you can still buy the current one in all major bookshops right now, English and Chinese.
Oh man! All right. Email another one. We got an email from Peter Adler. Dear Chris, Jordan, and Jaron, it would be fabulous to see an episode with visits to beer-producing Trappist monasteries and wonderful autumn colors in the high fens. Maybe even throw a couple rolls of Kodak Gold 200 into the photography mix. Now that film has become a returning theme of the show. This is
Belgium
a reference.
is happening,
Yeah,
baby.
That's very definitive.
Our general
that you said that.
manager. Our general manager is going to fit the bill, and we're
Fit-
going to
fit
do
the
that.
bill?
We're going to meet Kai down there. We're all
Yeah.
going to drink beer. It's going to be amazing episode.
We currently have
Amazing.
no plans to go to Belgium. I really wish we did.
No.
Okay,
He's
well,
going to do it.
Why haven't we
apparently
done a
there's-
video
there's
together yet?
information.
We've known each
Yeah.
other for some
I
time.
know. The first time we met you was
Yeah.
in Germany for Photokina.
And we weren't
your
allowed to
bloody
say we were
producer-
hanging out with you.
Yeah,
I
right. I
remember.
know,
bloody
right? We
producer
were
wouldn't let
rivals,
you.
apparently. Rival companies. Yeah.
Sat in a dark corner of the bar. Yeah, it was
I snuck out.
weird and unsettling. But no, after all this time, it is weird we haven't
Yeah.
actually shot something
Well,
together. So
there's been
Belgium's the
cameos.
place.
There's been
Belgium's the
cameos.
place.
It is, yes. In Bruges.
Yeah.
Have you been there?
No, it's not on the top of the list of places to go to.
Brussels.
The
Should be.
beer's
Well,
very
we're
strong.
going. We're going to Brussels.
That's news to me. Well, at any rate, thanks everyone for joining us this week. Kai, thank you for coming on, giving
No
us your
problem.
insights. It's always nice to see you. And if there's any questions you guys got that we haven't addressed, I promise they are in the hopper. They are going in the list we have planned for the next few weeks. And thanks everyone. We'll catch you in the next
And
episode.
buy Kai's damn book.
Oh, yeah.
Damn
It's
book.
cute. Oh,
Yeah, there he goes again. Buy
I
Kai's
can't
damn
read
book.
it though. I don't. What's that language? I don't know.
no need to put a dam in there. God. Crikey. Oh, look at that. That's useful information.
Look how much fun he's having. You could have that same fun. Buy his book.